So next step, let's take a look at the implementation file that needs to accommodate all of these new parts that we added to the header file. So again, we can scroll back to the top in the header file, and so the implementation actually contains create primitive, which now has a new parameter, basically a pointer to a string of characters, text. And of course we have new types of controls that we'd like to use, new types of primitive drawing objects. So let's see, so we have the text. So let's take care of the text. We can try something like this. So we can construct our primitive text right here, and so these are the parameters that we need to pass to the constructor, right? So we have coordinates, the color that we choose to draw the text with, and the text label itself. So everything matches over here. And we also have the filled circle, so that's something like this. So we have a circle, let's also add a filled circle. So that's very similar, right? Just using the same parameters, but for the filled color, I'm actually hard coding the yellow color just to make it stand out a little bit, and that's my choice right here. And for the filled rectangle, we can also add the case right here. So for the filled rectangle, we can use this is the new type of rectangle. Can use again constructor, and I'm hard coding this to blue color. So this, of course, right now the application does not have an interface to specify the custom color. So I'm just using these two colors just for the conceptually, you know, be able to prove ability to draw the filled shapes. So now we need new definitions for all of these types of gadgets that we can use for primitive drawings. And we begin with the constructor. So let's start with the filled circle. So for instance, when we have a number of functions for the circle, we can just use space next to it somewhere here. It really doesn't matter where in the implementation file you're going to add this, but somewhere we need to add constructor for the filled circle. And so it's using the same parameters, right? The same parameters as a primitive circle constructor, and it passes all of these constructors to its base class constructor. So hopefully this using directive will request compiler that that this constructor is exactly the same as the constructor that we're using. In fact, we can try to comment this out for now and just see if this using directive will take care of it. But let's just keep in mind that if we need to add constructor, this is how it should look like. But because its signature is exactly the same as the base class constructor right here, I'm just going to try this using directive. So we need to provide a custom version of the draw. So draw is a virtual function declared at the base, and at every level we can redefine it. So let's see, there is a function in full-text library which is called flpy. So I think this py function may provide so basically it's capable of drawing like wedges of pie, like constructing a pie chart. But if we circle it 360 degrees, making full circle, so hopefully this will take care of it. So this is the function that I'm going to use or try using. I haven't tried this yet. This is just my plan. And for the circle we use the arc, right? So really we're just changing arc to pi, and pi will be using the default color that we set for our background. And let's see what happens and how this works. So this is my version of the draw for the circle field. Okay. So if we were also to provide a constructor for a rectangle field, not using this using declaration to use base class constructor, then we would do something like this. But I'm going to comment this out for now. I'm just let me see. So this is basically just a closing brace right here. And so if we had to provide our own custom version, this is how it would look like. But for now, I'm just hoping that we can rely on this using declaration for the constructor of the base class to apply it in the case of this class as well. So filled rectangle, let's see, this is the draw for primitive rectangle. So at this stage, what I'm going to do is that I would like you to try to figure it out. So for the filled rectangle, I'm just going to use the same rectangle that we used before. Basically just use the rectangle function, but I think there is also a function that draws filled rectangles. So I would encourage you to search full text library documentation for this, and I'm just going to leave it as to do. Update to use filled rectangle function. Right, so there is a function here in the full text library that allows you to draw filled rectangles. So just remember to find it and make a change. Let's also find our Drawbox. So Drawbox constructor we also need to update because we have the new data member. Of course, constructor has to be updated. So let's find it. Okay, so here it is. So my plan is just simply set this input label to null pointer to begin with. But remember, we have a member function which allows to specify the input label. And the reason for this choice that I'm making to set it initially to null pointer is simply because I would like to decouple myself from the sequence of constructors used by Fluid Designer. I don't know in what sequence these controls on the user form are created. Fluid may create my Drawbox first and then create radio buttons and then the input box. I don't know the order. So I would not like to guess or verify exactly how Fluid in what sequence it creates these gadgets. So my choice is to just create my box safely with the null pointer right here. So I'm not pointing to anything. And by the time everything is constructed and the window is ready to go, I will call the set input label and set this pointer pointing to the actual input box on the form. We will revisit this later on, but at this stage, this is the choice that I'm making, just to initialize this input label with null pointer. So this is also a new function, get primitive type. So this is quite trivial, right? So use primitive type, get primitive type. Let's keep them next to each other. So this is simply returning the primitive type from the Drawbox. Okay, so that's quite fine. And the next update is to set the input label, right? So this is another member function that we're using here. So setting the input label by the time the input label control is constructed, we just want to be able to save it here in our member variable. Notice that I'm using underscore for the input parameter, but the name of the member does not have an underscore. So I'm just saying input label, saving this pointer inside Drawbox. You will see how we're going to use this function when we interact with the window at runtime.